I'm going to describe someone and I want you to guess who. He has bad hair, he's overweight, he likes walls, junk food, lying, bragging, and controlling the media. He inherited his wealth and he leads a country. Now, if you think I'm talking about Donald Trump, you're actually incorrect. I'm talking about a different leader, Kim Jong-un. If you didn't know, Kim Jong-un is the military leader and dictator of North Korea. North Korea is a country in Asia that was created in 1948. This country is made because of World War II. World War II split up Korea because Japan was in control of Korea when they won a battle against Russia. When Japan lost World War II, it split up Korea, and now we have North and South Korea. South Korea became a presidential republic, and North Korea is called the Democratic People's North Korea. But it is actually a communist state. Communism is a belief where people share property and everyone gets what they deserve and or need. But it doesn't usually work that way, especially when you have a dictator in charge. People don't have many basic freedoms in North Korea. For example, there are certain pictures you can take that will get you banned from North Korea, such as the army, the subways because they double as bomb shelters, the poor, the wealthy, soldiers resting, malnourished people, people eating grass, and computers without electricity. People aren't even allowed to go to North Korea unless they take a small restricted group to the main part of it. A small restricted group tour escorted by a government tour guide and only to the main part of it, which looks fine, but it's pretty empty. You can't just walk around anywhere like in other countries. It's a place that some people know looks like this. It looks fine, doesn't it? But what they don't show you is this. Kids who are starving from having insufficient food and no one to take care of them. People who don't have jobs and are homeless, and parks patrolled by soldiers in case anyone doesn't follow the rules. My name is Milo, and I wanted to talk about the people in North Korea because I don't think we are talking about them enough. Kim Jong-un has no sense of responsibility to the people he governs, yet he has all the power, which is not okay. He isn't building structures or caring for the people in his country. North Korea is closed to the world. This is because Kim Jong-un doesn't want people to see what it's really like in there. He doesn't allow people to travel there because he doesn't want the people to see the reality of his country. He thinks if people don't know the reality, he can keep it the way it is. To fight this, a few people secretly recorded what it's like in North Korea. This is a very dangerous thing to do because first of all, it's illegal, and if any soldier or cop sees them doing this, they would either be executed or go to jail. These recordings show how the propaganda that's made there isn't anything like the real place. These brave people risk their lives and make secret recordings because they can post those recordings on the internet so people can see what it's really like. People there don't get the amount of food they should. Over 22 million people must rely on food produced from the 20% of farmland available, and that causes farmers to plant down unsuitable land, which doesn't always work. People there don't get the medicine they need either. Although there is a quote-unquote free medical system, patients in hospitals have to pay for medicine, heat, and food which people can't afford. They are too poor because their country currently has the lowest gross domestic product, or GDP, which means how many goods the country produces per year. They don't produce a lot of goods because they don't have the resources or education to do that. Kim Jong-un spends all the country's money on improving his army and nuclear weapons. When Kim Jong-un spends his money on nukes rather than food and medicine, it means lots of homeless and starving people. 40% of kids under 5 suffer from malnutrition. Malnutrition happens when people don't get the correct amount of calories and protein they need. This makes their bones and body become lighter and skinnier and have less bone strength. I watched documentaries of kids picking crumbs of food off the dirt and ground outside. They have to do this because they don't have money. There aren't many roads and there's only a few shops to get food. Some kids work in the fields and can't go to school just to get some food because they don't have any other way to eat. Since the country has the lowest GDP, another problem is that there are a lot of homeless people. This is because there are not a lot of ways to earn money, and if they don't have money, they can't buy houses or pay for electricity even if they do have a house. This is a bigger deal there than, let's say, in Hong Kong, because there are way more homeless people. Half of the 24 million people are in extreme poverty. You might have guessed already, but there are actually more homeless kids than adults there. Schools there expect parents to pay for desks, chairs, stationery, and money to pay for heating. But if you can't eat, why would you worry about a school? In other places like America, there are government-sponsored programs that help homeless people by doing things like making shelters, food stamps, low-income housing, and drop-in services. However, in North Korea, there are none of these types of programs because Kim Jong-un wants to have more money for himself and the military. Kim Jong-un is worth $5 billion partly because he doesn't do these types of programs. The ways he gets money is cyber hacking, coal trading with China, and selling forced labor to places like China, Russia, and the Middle East. He is a dictator and he spends money on whatever he wants rather than what it is his people need. No matter how much I don't like Donald Trump, I'm glad that he can't be a dictator because he has Congress. Congress keeps him from being someone like Kim Jong-un. I wish North Korea had a system that gave Kim Jong-un some limits. North Korea has way too many soldiers everywhere. This helps with the propaganda that North Korea is a very tough country and that they can protect people and have these strong weapons and army, but really, when it comes to their economy, they're one of the worst nations. The reason they focus too much on the army is because they think this is what makes a good country, and this is the propaganda they spread. The government controls all the internet and news. They use propaganda for social media inside the country. They do this to hide things like elections from people inside North Korea or things that show how other politicians handle their countries. They are worried that this could lead to an uprising against Kim Jong-un. This is bad because no one knows what it's really like in other places. The TVs are always preset to be airing propaganda, and no one is allowed to be on the internet. If you find these things a bit hard to picture, then I'll try to explain it. Let's say you were living in a country, and the president/ruler of the country had this army, nukes, and war weapons, but the place only had a few buildings, very little electricity. There's quite a lot of homeless people, and you didn't know what it was like outside of your country. But one day you went to war as a soldier. You started to invade somewhere else, but then you see that they have healthy people, not as many homeless, and much better conditions than where you were from. Would you keep fighting? Probably not. So Kim Jong-un keeps them in the dark. Some people experience the outside world, and then they plan to defect or leave the country. This is what people must do when they feel they have no rights or hope. There are charities that help North Korean defectors, people who have escaped/abandoned their country in search for freedom, such as Liberty in North Korea. I want to help these people, so I created a book. I was inspired by one of my favorite books called Zoom, so I illustrated a book set in North Korea because I wanted people to want to help the people there. I made the book without words so anyone could understand it. I like photography, and so I called it Aperture. Aperture is the size of the hole that light goes through into the camera. It's involved in the exposure of a photograph. I named my book that because I want this country and its problems to be exposed. Just like the world has to look into North Korea more closely, you have to look into the pictures in my book to see the story I tried to tell.